everyone, welcome back to the Season 1, Episode 3. Now, finally, we have our co-host Ihab back. He had a flu on the last episode.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to Galaxy Podcast, and it's good to be back, flu-free.
On today's episode, we have an extremist, a traveler, an environmental worker, we can say, right?
I concur with you when you said extremist. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard
This
stories.
is how we're getting started.
Yes. We have Gregg from Mongolian Fixers. Welcome to our podcast, Gregg.
Nice to be. I was going to say nice to be here. Till now, already being labeled an extremist. At least let me prove myself.
No worries, you'll have a lot of chance, an hour of chance.
Yeah. Well, just not too much of an introduction. I just recently met Gregg around 13 years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. I met Gregg recently around 10 years ago? Yeah.
It's been a while.
So
Hope our audience doesn't think these two guys are inviting all of their friends.
you know what? Maybe we are.
We are.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching the podcast with Miguel.
Yeah. So our first question starts with, how did you end up in Mongolia?
Actually, I lost a bet. It was a pretty big bet in poker. And
You're serious?
No, come on. No. Actually, there's a good buddy of mine who is a day younger than me, and we were looking to do something interesting for kind of a major birthday, and we ended up deciding on traveling through Russia, Siberian Russia, and then came into Mongolia. We actually got talked into a scuba diving expedition to Lake Hovsgol.
Whoa. Oh.
And this was back in 2007. We were the first two to sign up for it. So it was interesting. This was back in the day when, there was no paved road. It took 4 hours just to get from Moron to Khatgal.
Wow.
So yeah, the logistics
that's
involved
a
with
30
it.
minutes drive right now, right?
That wasn't back in 2007?
Yeah. It was 4 hours. It was over 4 hours to get there. Once they paved the road, it was just an hour 10, hour 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was interesting times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's been 16 years.
Yes.
The first time, yeah.
Wow.
Since the first time.
Yeah.
Well, it's not an anniversary on the third one. Because
But
Gregg, when we had Gregg, he said it was his 10th anniversary, right? And then when we had Miguel, it was also his 10th anniversary in September. When he first came to Mongolia.
The second time that what brought him and made him decide to stay, that's an interesting story. So I'll let him tell you.
Okay.
Okay, so the second time was actually in 2010, and that was coming back on the Mongol Rally.
Ah, yes.
So that's the drive from the UK. You start at Goodwood Racetrack and you end up in UB.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, back in the days when there was the Sun Street pub right up the block here, before the Twin Towers were built, all of that. That's where we finished. So you get to choose your own route, and it's kind of, a bit of madness for a month, and you're kind of on your own. Mm-hmm. So my teammate and I were both active skydivers at the time, so we called our team Hanapis over Mongolia. And our logo was Genghis Khan sweeping in under canopy.
Oh.
And it was a lot of fun. So that was 2010, and pretty much Ehab. That's when we met.
That's
actually,
when we
was
met.
was back
And then when did you decide to stay?
Well, in 2011, I got asked to run operations for the Mongol Derby, or as Ehab might say, the Derby.
The Derby.
The Derby. So that's the 1,000-kilometer long horse race.
Like I said, right?
And that
A
race
lot of extreme stuff.
It's still going until now.
Okay, doing extreme stuff does not make one
an
extremist. Okay. Just to be clear.
Maybe I
They didn't cover that in the English as a second language course.
Okay.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
you're still
Just
an
clearing
extremist
things
in
up.
my mind.
So he's into extreme stuff.
Yeah. And then extremist.
So, I wanted to ask you. So you came here in 2010, like, to kind of live here. What was like? What do you think about the Mongolian culture? What hit you as a? I mean, first thing, you're from the U.S., right? We needed to clarify that because we know him, but the audience don't know him.
Don't know him.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about yourself first.
Okay. So yes, from the U.S., born and raised in New York, kind of worked my way west across the country, and then ended up in Florida, as most New Yorkers do eventually. And really, my background is in space science and engineering, but got drawn more towards work in the oceans, became a diving instructor, worked in Central America, started doing logistics there, working on some film shoots, and all down in Central and South America. And then really just took the opportunity on the Mongol Derby on the Mongol Rally to end up coming back to Mongolia, spending a couple of months. Got involved with logistics here. A few years later, Mongolia Fixers was born.
Wow.
And now we do logistics for film crews, expeditions, and adventure tours.
Nice.
And then,
So,
like when you come to know the guest, like a lot of silly questions come into my
it's a
mind.
bit hard, but the main thing is I really want to know, like, okay, when I first came to Mongolia, there was a cultural kind of impact, and Mongolian culture is very strong, and things are different. So what are the things that you kind of?
Okay, so actually this brings to mind a little funny story I just want to touch on real quick. And I won't say who I met. Let's just say he was running a property company here. And because first time after the Mongol Rally, I needed a place to stay for a couple of months. I ended up staying for 3 months in Mongolia. And we were having coffee out on Amsterdam Cafe, if you remember that place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right near Iftelgor.
Street, next to Iftelgor.
We're sitting on the balcony, and he asked me, okay, what are you running away from? Like, I'll find out your secret of what you're here hiding from. I was like, what? Come on, I'm chilling out. I actually had left a very lucrative job in the diving industry, and scuba diving, that is. And was really loving my time here, was not any kind of extremist running away from anything or hiding from any legal authorities, and that really struck me, that the impression was that anyone who's here who basically is not working in some type of religious capacity,
religious or mining,
is running away from something. And that, I still remember it to this day, and this was 13 years ago. So he made quite an impression when he asked me that. And I always kind of kept that in mind when I was meeting other people. We're still trying to figure out what you're running away from, Baggy.
No. There's nothing that I'm running away from.
I know we have secrets, so that's...
I usually say Mongolia, either love it or hate it. And the people who love it, they're a bit weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what you think?
They have something wrong with them somewhere in the mind, and
that's like something that
it's
we
a
know
joke,
about.
by the way. Don't take it serious.
Of course, I will never take it serious.
But no, what struck me was the beauty of the countryside. That grabbed me straight away. Fell in love with Lake Hovsgol the first time that I saw it. Loved the fact that, you see, after the Mongol Rally, I held on to my vehicle for a little while, which was this tiny Toyota pickup, black with flames painted down the sides of it.
I still remember.
Okay. That'll get you pulled over by the police along the way a few times. I think we had 23 police stops along the way, and multiple requests for bribes and all that. But held on to that vehicle for a couple of months that I lived here in 2010, the end of the summer, and really had some fun adventures. And just that you could drive right up to 1,000-year-old ruins. That blew me. Harbuchin Balgas out by Dashinchilan. Oh man, blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. I still have a photograph of the truck next to the ruins.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
we should get that. Send us a photo of that. We'll pop it on.
We'll pop it on the.
oh yeah, definitely,
yeah.
definitely, and even dragged Ehab out once to Tsoktaj Palace.
I remember that with the larder
And the mosquitoes.
and the mosquitoes.
Good
and,
Lord.
Yeah, and I still took a little.
Mosquitoes probably love you much.
Oh, they do. I'm too sweet.
Yeah.
But-
And then
but the larder is-
I also want to know that before Mongolia, like how many countries you've been, and then like how long did you stay in those countries? Like were there countries that you stayed longer than Mongolia?
No, not as long as Mongolia now, but Panama was another one where I spent a few years. I was working on a liveaboard dive boat down there. Very interesting. A lot of fun, great diving. But no, besides that, Mongolia has been the longest. By far.
What made you stay like longer than like those countries, like in Mongolia?
Greatest camping in the world.
Greatest camping in the world.
Greatest camping in the world.
Well, another thing is, wasn't there a project with Hofschool Lake in terms of environmental and stuff that got you?
Ah, yes.
Yes, there was.
We don't need to talk about
Details,
talk
like
about,
There still might be moving forward. A lot's happening up at Lake Hovsgol right now, but we were originally approached by the Ministry of Environment back in 2010 to start developing a project to survey the lake and salvage vehicles from the lake. And obviously the government is very heavily involved with that now. They're doing a great job so far. So
there's actually vehicles inside, like deep in the lake,
Yes.
yes.
full of.
They did a recovery recently. NEMA was just working on a recovery in the northern part of the lake, and they pulled a tanker out. And from what I understand, there was a bunch of fuel still in the tank.
Yeah, still in the tank.
So-
That's what I heard.
It's great. I mean, obviously the fuel is going to be worthless, but as a contaminant, it's really harmful for the lake environment. So getting that out of there was that's a great move, and that's what we were going to be working on. But long story short, 5 different ministers in 5 years, and subsequent ministers not knowing who you are or what you want to do. It just we got more involved with the fixing with foreign film clients, and that takes up a lot of the time now.
So what do you think in terms of in terms of environment and Mongolia is pristine, and you've got all of these environmental issues that are impacting the country. Like I wanted kind of to focus a little bit more on that before we get into something else. Can you let us know?
Keeping it fun. Okay. Yeah. So what I would say is Mongolia is actually coming along really, really quickly from an environmental standpoint. Okay. If you look, let's compare Lake Hovsgol to, say, Lake Tahoe in California. Yeah. If you look at what went on around Lake Tahoe in the 1800s and the early 1900s, it was a disaster up there. They were clear cutting. There were a lot of pollutants finding their way into the lake, and it took decades for controls to be put in place and for a lot of environmental protections to be put into place. Now, there has been a lot of uncontrolled development up at Lake Hovsgol. I really don't want to comment too much on that, but
that's fine.
But the fact that now this project in particular is being implemented, this is a really good thing. And I think there's a lot of awareness for it among the populace. I think a lot of people, if you ask them, hey, should we protect Lake Hovsgol? Would they like to see protections put in place? Would say yes, absolutely. It's sacred. It's Dalayech, it's Mother Sea. And, you don't, in general, look, we as human beings need to learn not to poop where we eat, right? Yeah. I mean, if you invite somebody over to your home and they go to your kitchen and, leave a pile of excrement on the floor, you're probably not going to invite them back, right? But yet, on a larger scale, this is sometimes what we're doing out in nature. So I think Mongolia is coming along very, very quickly that this is not a good thing to do.
What about in terms of us being an environmentalist, like in terms of like the mining sector versus the environment? Not to go too deep, but what do you think the issues are? And if the people, because sometimes in the mining sector, the miners are doing what they can, and the issue is with the local environmentalists. They're like complaining and stuff. It's almost the opposite, and sometimes it's the opposite.
Okay, you'll find me in the middle on this issue. Okay, the mining is going to get done. It needs to get done because we need. It's like these people are arguing against oil right now, right? Yet they drove to the protest in a combustion automobile. Okay, so there's a bit of you try not to be too hypocritical with these things, and you try and find solutions that actually make sense. Okay, so you can look at this in so many fields. You can look at this with, say, marine archaeology, where the hardcore archaeologist would say nobody should touch this, everything should go in a museum, and then you have your commercial salvers who just want to go and grab all the treasure that they can find, right? There has to be a balance. There has to be a middle ground, and there is. If you can actually find a middle ground in any of these fields. So with environmentalism as well, you won't find me being too much of an extremist.
Yeah, Baggy.
You're back on it, aren't we?
When it comes to environmentalism. But hey, with regards to Lake Hovsgol, I used to assist with one of the camps with taking people out on their boat. I'm a licensed Coast Guard captain, and it was a lot of fun. Actually, I got to know the lake pretty well. And we would take bottles with us, and I would tell people, okay, if you have bottled water, empty the water out before we go out on the boat, because literally if you put I won't mention any brand names, but if you pour your bottled water into Lake Hovsgol, you'll be polluting Lake Hovsgol compared to what's in there.
Oh.
Right? It is that pure.
So he said he's a coach, a captain also, right?
Yeah.
What are you?
Wait.
I'm like, we've been friends for a long time, but I want to know what are you?
Older.
What?
Older.
Okay. But as a young person, I have a question.
Do you know? Of course, he just said he told you he skydives.
Yeah, okay. We know he skydives. We know he
scuba dives.
Scuba dives.
Yeah.
And then now you're a captain. And then what else do you do? What other talents do you have?
Oh, expeditions.
I do have my private pilot's license.
There you go.
I'm not current. I will say I'm not current on it, but I've got about 135 hours of flying time.
Wow. Well, comparing to 0 hours like us,
it's fun. Look, there's a sci-fi author by the name of Robert Heinlein. He wrote a lot of really great books. He's one of the greats. Okay, and somewhat controversial. Some considered him a little bit of extremist. And but he has this book of quotes from a Methuselah-like character, so a character that's been alive over 1,000 years. And I don't know it exactly, but basically it says a human being should be able to. And it's everything from write a sonnet, cook a tasty meal, change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, fight efficiently, program a computer, and then it was fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects.
Yeah, what is
love
that?
it.
That quote. There's a quote that usually says, "What is it? A man of many talents,
Jack of all trades, master of none."
But apparently, it's not completed because the complete version is actually much better to be a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm. So those are the main things: scuba diving, free diving. Those are more active, more recently active. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, piloting a boat, learning how to pilot a boat. We're not talking about an ocean-going 500-ton ship, but learning how to pilot a boat, it's a little bit different than driving a car. It's actually very different than driving a car, but it's just another skill you pick up. It's a lot of fun too.
Driving a truck or a motorbike is different from driving
Sure.
a car.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
I was about to tell him that I ride bikes, but now it's so
You have
useless.
a cool bike. Oh man, now I said that. And
Comparing to what he does, it's so useless, you know.
why is that? Why would you say that?
No, it's like, you know, it just, you know, like as a young man for me, like it makes me feel like there's a lot to learn, a
Young
lot
man.
to
Okay.
try, and then maybe like, you know, I'm not living the fullest. That was something, you know, that I would like to try. Because when I was a kid, right, I wanted to try half of the things that you just said, and I still didn't do it. Like, you know, even in 2020, I went to Philippines, and I wished like my whole life to do like scuba diving, and I got frightened when I got there.
Okay.
I was swimming like without these guys.
Are you a strong swimmer?
I say like not bad, but not that great.
Okay. Work on your swimming, and you'll have a bit of an easier time with it. You'll feel more confident when you're diving.
I think it's
The thing is, yeah,
confidence in the water will help you dive.
well, no, the thing is like it was not the confidence that actually like, you know, frightened me. It was the, what do you call that? Something phobia? What do you call that? The fear of like, you know, having these gigantic things that when I see the bottomless sea.
It's just called being a pussy.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think the drinks are kicking in. To Greg.
I swam in the Mediterranean at night on a full moon, and something touched my foot. I never swam that fast to shore ever in my life. I think I was in the middle of like, you know, a couple of maybe 50 meters in or something, and I swam to shore non-stop. I just had a graze of something, but it was too dark, so...
Okay, well, look, not to feed anybody's fears, but most large things in the ocean do come to the surface to feed.
Not especially.
So you're kind of in the buffet line when you're at the surface. Okay.
Okay.
But no, you know, you can maybe avoid the night diving at first. The freaks come out at night, man. Night diving's amazing, but you know, again, you're underwater. You're not the surface. You're not really that appetizing to sharks. You know, the most attacks, you know, are test bites. So, you know, they'll be like, oh, what's this, you know? But that first bite, you know, can do a bit of damage, right? But in general, you know, we're not looked at as prey by most sharks. I've been swimming with sharks actually with an NGO that I used to work with. I've got some great photos there that I can send you too. We were actually attempting to train, this is no BS, we were attempting to train bull sharks to eat lionfish. Because have you heard of the lionfish invasion? Okay.
Like with the lionfish is the one.
They're an invasive species, and basically they, you know, they've got the spines that
How
are
did they end up
poisonous.
being an invasive species
In the Caribbean,
the Caribbean,
and off of Mexico, yeah, because people take them as fish for their fish tanks, take them as pets,
I
and
know,
then
they
they
decide-
flush them or release them, however they end up in the ocean, and then they have no natural predators. So we actually did show, this was through an organization called Undersea Voyager Project, we actually did show that the bull sharks will
eat them.
And they probably just find them a little spicy.
Or being like Asian.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, exotic cuisine. So yeah, these are, you know, but you asked with, you know, with some of the countries that I've been to. So I believe Malaysia was number 36 or 37 on the list, which, given my age, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, right in the middle. I know people who've been to over 100 different countries, or almost all of them, or plenty of people who've been to 60, 70 countries. So I feel like a little bit of a baby, but to someone that, maybe has been to 5 or 6 countries, maybe it sounds, oh my God, like, wow, you've really...
Look, not even that. Like, one thing that I know from Gregg is, like, you've been to most of the provinces and some in Mongolia, more than me.
Gregg probably is the number one person I know that knows every part of Mongolia. Roads, dirt roads.
Yes. How many provinces you've been?
19.
Oh my God! Like, only 2 left. For me, imagine, like, I've been to, like, what, 7, probably.
Get traveling.
Yeah,
Got a beautiful
and then,
country.
Good to know.
You've got a beautiful country to explore.
Yeah, like, recently, right, as you can see, like, I think it started from COVID. Starting from COVID, the locals started traveling through the provinces in Mongolia. They wanted to, because we couldn't pass go to abroad, and then we started traveling inside
to get to know the country.
And then Mongolians really, really loved what they saw, the local, because like not many of us been to all these provinces, and then like every province has their own beauty, right? Like even their sums, and then some of the things that we just found out was like, we passed these provinces to get to another province, but then we never like literally go to like sightseeing in all these provinces. And then when you get to know it, and like it's really, really beautiful.
So I've got a question for you.
I'm ashamed saying that, but like seriously, like it was amazing. Like, and then probably that's why like Gregg.
If you have to recommend some places for Mongolian people, Ulaanbaatar people to
yes,
visit.
the UB people.
To the UB people?
UB people.
Thailand.
Mongolian. No.
No, in Mongolia.
In Mongolian.
That's
Thailand.
Vietnam.
That's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're being
Okay. I'll say one thing and then I'll give a recommendation.
Okay.
Pack out your trash.
Oh, yeah.
Pack out your trash.
Yeah.
Please pack your trash.
Yeah. The one thing that would really, one of the many things that would really boost tourism here is if you didn't walk to the top of any hill and see a bunch of broken bottles of Genghis Khan vodka. Seriously. Okay. Take the trash with you and get it out of there. But for a recommendation of where to go,
a place that you might guess that the UB people have never been.
I'm not giving out any of my favorites.
Oh,
Well,
he's like
your fifth favorite, like things to recommend.
I tell 2 friends and then
no, he would.
they'll tell people.
Don't say Hoskell, please. Because most of the UB people went to Hoskell. Because Hoskell been in the top list for what?
Okay.
Last 5
Probably
years?
Henty.
Hinty.
Yeah. Probably Henty.
Why?
Well, in 2011, it was actually after the Mongol Derby stint. Went up there with an old friend. You probably remember Joron from Amsterdam. He was from Netherlands. He had that big Hanemag Henschel van and the great dog. Yeah, Baya. And basically we said, okay, which direction do we want to go? I really hadn't explored too much back in 2011. And we heard about the bread that they make up there in Batcherit and Binder. So it was like, okay, well, who makes the better bread? So it was pretty much the great Mongolian bread tasting tour of 2011. and I don't know if I should pick favorites, in case we have anyone. Well, no, Binder bread. Binder bread was better.
Nice.
Yeah, a little bit.
We have, I always, because I lived in Urhangai, so I always say Urhangai, Iraq is really good.
Yep.
Then people will come up with no Bolgan.
Yeah, Bolgan.
Yeah, and I'm always arguing with people on that. So.
Yeah,
and
but no, the Onin River. You have the connector road is a dirt road connecting Batcherit and Binder.
Yes.
That is just a lot of fun. You go over the old bridges, the old Russian if they're still there.
That's the carrier, right?
Yes.
The wooden carrier.
Yes, exactly.
Because I visited Hinty for the first time. I mean, like proper visiting, like not passing through. Last year with my family, and then I felt like I'm in a foreign country. Like I felt like this is like Russia. Like very tall trees, and then like the what do you call it? The villages that has like Russian style houses and stuff.
As opposed to UB with the
No, it's a
Russian
bit
style.
different. No, it's a bit different. Like
No, the wooden log
logs,
houses.
yes.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
well, one thing which was really terrible from Hinti was the mosquitoes.
Well, that seems to be everywhere because we were just out in Hovd and Bayanolgi this summer. Actually, we were all over the place. We were in Ufs, and we traveled down from Ulangom down to Bayanolgi Center, and it was my call. We made the brilliant mistake of camping next to the Hovd River. Oh, good Lord. Okay, you remember Tsoktaj?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, that was cute. That was that was maybe 10 mosquitoes per cubic meter. This would have been more 10,000 mosquitoes per cubic meter.
There's a Miguel was saying the mosquitoes were like, he looked up and he thought it was a dark cloud on top of him.
Yeah. Miguel was with us for our clients. He was our personal chef. It was wonderful. Ate like a king and drank a bit of tequila over those 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right, so
Yeah,
I wanted to ask, in terms of back to the environmental stuff, I really wanted to kind of get these points across. We were talking, I remember one time we were talking about Kashmir.
Yeah.
And what the prices of Kashmir affected how the environment and the grass and so on.
From what I understand, and I'm certainly no expert with regards to Kashmir, we did start a little site. We were working on a little site called Mongolia Fibers.
Yeah.
And that's more for yak down. I love the yak down as a fiber. Mm-hmm. Okay. I prefer it over the cashmere. It's stronger, it's hypoallergenic, and from what I understand, the goats actually when they graze, they actually do rip everything out of the ground. They rip the roots and all out of the ground, as opposed to sheep that just like lawnmower, right? Yeah. Just like cows, right? Or yaks. The goats actually can be somewhat destructive to the grasses. So the more goats there are, again, if this is accurate, then you can end up with huge herds of goats leading to some degree of desertification. But there would have to be studies done on that. But what sheep and goats are now up to 70 million?
Yeah.
3 million people, 70 million goats.
Wow,
it's a lot of goats, or not goats and sheep.
Yeah.
A lot of animals.
There is.
But a huge area. Also a massive area makes up Mongolia.
But a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people know that actually goat kind of, when they eat, they kind of rip the grass out.
Yeah.
So versus sheep,
Again, when we talk about these environmental issues, you've got to be realistic and you have to look to strike a balance. You should identify problems if there are problems, but then you should also look to strike a balance with a solution. Because, let's say herders, they need to make a living. They need to eat. They need to feed their families, right? But at the same time, if there's a lot of environmental destruction going on, then this needs to be identified and there need to be solutions introduced that make sense.
Okay. Do you think there's any solutions for these things? Are like some of the NGOs or some of the people who buy fiber, are they introducing any?
Not sure. Not sure. It would be a very interesting study to do if it hasn't been done here. Say comparing what would be considered areas that have become desertified, if that's a good word. Say compared to 50 years ago, or 40 years ago, or 30 years ago, and then the government has a pretty good idea of what animal populations have been over the years. They keep track of that, and then see what's been going on, and can we attribute that desertification specifically to goats, or is it a wide variety of factors?
Yeah.
And there's another thing that I know from Greg, that a project that you worked on, the Falcons, right, on this Barb Wire? Well,
yeah,
no, not Barb Wire.
this was
the
crazy.
electric wires.
Actually, yeah, it was on power poles. So, and these.
Well, one of the things is, like, I know a lot of Arabs, they come here for to kind of get they have licenses from the government to get falcons.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, basically, the project that we worked on was a filming project, and it was for the Mohammed bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is out of the UAE. It's out of the
United Arab
Emirates.
Emirates.
And it's actually funded by the president of the current president of the UAE.
Oh, wow.
And it was going to, well, the film was actually used to open a trade show called Adihex, which is equestrian and hunting, primarily equestrian and hunting type sports in the Emirates, in Abu Dhabi.
So basically for, like, when they actually have the falcon and they train them and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So falconry is a big part of that show. And what's going on, and it's not just in Mongolia, it's in many places around the world, is these power poles are being put in that...
For electricity, of course.
For electricity. I mean, regular electricity lines are being run, but the poles that are, carrying those wires are done very, very, as cheap as possible. So you've got a concrete pole. It used to be all the poles were wood, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, now they're using concrete poles, steel hardware, right? And then you've got a little post, a glass insulator, and then a hot wire running over the top of it. So this is horrific from the standpoint of large birds, because what happens? Birds, where do they want to be? They want to be up high. They want to see where their prey is, right? They can see better if they perch on one of these poles. Well, if a bird is perched on even the top pole has a wire, the third wire running over it. Again, it's got steel hardware wrapped around it with a little post and then an insulator and a hot line running over the top of it. Well, the concrete pole is grounded.
Yeah.
So basically, if a bird perches on this on the top of the pole or on one of the crossbars and it touches the live wire with a wing, beak, tail,
Immediately
it completes the circuit and it's electrocuted. And it's estimated that in Mongolia, some 18 to 20,000 raptors a year are killed this way.
Wow.
18 to 20,000.
That's a huge number.
Falcons.
Yes, raptors would be kites.
Kites.
Kites, eagles, falcons. Boy, I'm not a bird expert. But it's
vultures. Mongolia have some really big. Big vultures,
You've got carrion eaters. Yeah. So, but that number includes as many as 4,000 sacred falcons, and that's the national bird of Mongolia.
Wow.
Right? That are being electrocuted by cheap power lines, cheap power poles, excuse me. So what the Conservation Fund was doing, they funded a couple of the environmental NGOs here that specialize in raptor conservation, wildlife protection, and they're going in. A solution was developed to actually cap these things. You basically put a plastic sleeve over the crossbars or a cap over the top, and that acts as an insulator.
It's just as simple as that.
Well, the simplest thing, they're kind of taking a two-tiered approach. One is to try and get the government to legislate building the power lines differently so this doesn't happen in the first place. And of course, for the lines that already exist, this is a form of remediation to make them safe. And they noticed a 98% plus drop in mortality.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
I mean, amazingly effective.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were driving along with them and filming this, and you just drive along the power lines. Usually there's at least a little bit of a dirt track along the power lines, and you just find these dead birds. Some poles have 3, 4, 5 dead birds at the base of them that have been electrocuted. So most people aren't aware of this, and they see maybe some of these Arabic groups coming in, getting licenses to take these falcons, and they're kind of freaking out over say, the Emiratis being given, 50, 100 licenses to take birds out of the country. Yeah. Yet it's Mongolian companies that are building these power lines, right, that are killing tens of thousands of raptors.
Oh wow!
So
and these falcons apparently they're not that cheap to get the license. They cost a lot.
No, it's very expensive. And I know that the MBZRCF project, they invested in Mongolia. And again, Mongolia is by no means the only place where this is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening all over the world.
Yeah.
Okay, it's happening in Western countries. It's happening, everywhere.
Everywhere. Right.
Okay, so it's not, no country's being singled out.
Yeah.
Right, but it's so easily preventable. Right, and again, 4,000 Sacred Falcons. So let's say they're coming here for a Sacred Falcon. They give, and this project saves a couple thousand birds a year. Is charging a lot of money, injecting some money into the economy and giving them 50 or 100 permits to take birds out such a bad thing?
And they're boosting the economy.
So long as it's boosting the economy, and maybe a portion of that license fee can go towards power line remediation.
Yeah.
So I still see new line. You can't help, once you do a project like this, you can't help but notice.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm always looking. I'm always taking pictures.
Yeah,
I'm always looking for dead birds.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the countryside and be looking for dead birds. They ruined me.
Yeah.
But it's a really big problem.
You obviously you scuba dived here in Hofsel Lake.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Experience. And skydiving.
Yeah. 35 or so jumps here in Mongolia.
35 jumps.
Yeah.
And as I know, you don't really jump from a plane in Mongolia.
No, Mi-8 helicopters, the Russian helicopters with the military.
How is that different from jumping from a plane? Let's say like one of those
experiences.
I mean, jumping from a helicopter is a lot of fun. You're not those things are moving forward. They're not just hovering. So you do have a little bit of forward motion, but you actually get the sensation of falling at first. Until you start picking up some speed and getting some airflow going by your body, which they don't jump from very high altitude, so you don't have very long to free fall. But it's I mean, look, anytime a skydiver gets to jump from a different type of aircraft, it's a thrill. Yeah. Whether that's a hot air balloon or different types of helicopters or different types of aircraft. Like I said, our kind of logo and brand for the Mongol Rally was canopies over Mongolia, right? So a little bit of a play on canopies, right? And, our objective was to skydive in a few different places along the way to Mongolia. So we got to jump in Czech, I got to jump in Ukraine, jumped here, I believe we jumped in Austria, and it was just a riot. We got to make new friends along the way, and different aircraft each time.
So how does one go about if they want to jump or learn how to jump? Oh, cheers, Peggy.
If they want to learn how to jump
in Mongolia?
Oh, I was going to say I recommend going to a drop zone and going to a jump school rather than just.
Do they have a drop zone and jump?
No, actually, you're jumping with the military. There is a Mongolian Parachute Association, but they work closely with the military to control the jumping.
You're jumping with the Mongolian military?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Generally, yes. The MPA coordinates with the military, again, because there aren't too many aircraft to jump out of. Now, it's been a few years, so that may have changed somewhat, but that was always the way that it was. We jumped at the discretion of the military, the 084.
Nice. Yeah. Old Russian.
Oh, it was a riot.
Another question. Because I've worked with Gregg on a couple of projects, right? And then one thing that I found out from Gregg was he has a chance to meet all these celebrities who comes to Mongolia in secret, just to go for sightseeing or go travel or whatever they do here. And then one thing I wanted to know was the first rule. Okay, the first rule of interacting or communicating with these celebrities. What is that?
Respect of their privacy. That's what I would say. respect of their privacy. All right, so there were a few folks that we worked with. Years ago, we had the opportunity to work with Alexander Skarsgård. Absolute gentleman. This guy was really, really...
Where did he go?
Top notch. We were actually working on a Toomey luggage commercial. And this thing almost got tanked, this project. It was first supposed to star Pedro Pascal.
Oh.
But this was after he was in GOT, right? So it was on, then the whole project was off. Then we were supposed to work with I keep forgetting the name, another actor out of the UK, and then he canceled. And again, we weren't setting this up; our client was setting this up. So then we were a go, just with a few days' notice with Alex. And
so, if people don't know who Alex is,
he played the really tall vampire in what was the HBO series True Blood.
True Blood.
And he played Tarzan in the remake of Tarzan. I think it was 2016.
Yeah.
So he had already played Tarzan. We had him here, I believe it was 2018. And we worked with him here in the city. We actually got to work with the trains. We actually filmed on one of the trains running north.
On the train station?
Yeah, from the UB train station and then going up to Zunkhara.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and got them to stop, I guess, in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't on the train that evening. We just organized everything, and then the fixer went along with them, right? And then we had him out at Haugenhan. So we did a lot of filming out in Haugenhan, and we had just torrential rains.
And this was
it was brilliant. I mean, rains that were so bad that the camp actually had an outhouse, and the outhouse actually sunk into the ground.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the whole building went into the ground. Yeah.
You also took out most recently the NAS Daily team.
Well, we didn't. We provided a little bit of logistic support for a small subset of the NAS Daily group. Yeah, so we had about 18 or 20 people.
They had like over 30 influencers coming to Mongolia.
Oh, they had a bunch of influences. We had a group of I think it was 18 that I was asked to just provide a little bit of logistic support, and yeah, we had a nice time. It was just an overnighter. We put up some nice Lux tents and things like that.
Well, the reason that I started this conversation was like, starting from this year, right? The government is having an initiative, a project, which is actually I think this is working really good. The one that called Welcome to Mongolia. And they're spending thousands of tours on it to bring in these celebrities, like organize events, like international events and everything. And one thing that I found out from Gregg was like, well, the government is paying money to bring in these celebrities. But what happens with Gregg is like the celebrities and these companies pay Gregg and leave money here to come to Mongolia.
So the Mongolian government is paying for that, or what?
What do you mean?
I didn't get you.
No, what I meant is like Welcome to Mongolia project was organized to promote Mongolian tourism.
Yes.
And then in order to do that, Mongolian government is paying them paying these celebrities to come to Mongolia and promote it.
Yeah.
But the celebrities and these worldwide like huge companies, they're coming to Mongolia and paying Gregg. Basically, paying Gregg means leaving money here.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the other way around. Like it's not like spending our tax money to bring people. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a good thing to promote our tourism. But then, the other hand, I would like to, let people know that like there is a side of job that what Gregg is doing was like he is promoting Mongolia the same way as the government is trying to do. But other than that, he's leaving money here.
Okay,
not paying anybody.
I see where you're going with it.
I got your question.
But yeah, I mean, we employ people here. I mean, I don't have any foreign employees.
Yes.
Say, for example, in my company, it's all Mongolian employees, right, and contractors. So, one of the jobs you worked on, which was The Amazing Race.
Amazing Race.
Okay, so we just did The Amazing Race Israel. at the end of May, and that'll air in February. So everybody will get to see that when that comes out. We'll make sure to get a copy and make it available for anyone who wants to air it. I mean, it'll be in Hebrew, but we can probably work on some translation and subtitles for it.
There will be TV.
And I think it would be really interesting for people to see. And I mean, that was a bit of a large scale gig. It was short duration, right? Just a couple days, but we employed over 235 people.
Yes.
Right?
I was one of them. I was hired.
So when a foreign crew comes in and they need, whether it's logistics work or casting work or animal handling, God, we've handled. We've handled everything, including wolves, rabbits. That's another story we won't get into. But wolves, rabbits, eagles. Obviously the standard animals. Yaks, reindeer, horses, camels, sheep, goats, cows. Dogs. Best dogs in the world.
You worked on a project before for food. The food guy, I forgot his name, but right, or have I got it wrong?
The food guy.
I don't know.
Who's the food guy?
Some people coming and eating weird stuff.
Oh, everybody eats at some point when they're here. But
it was an extreme show.
Now we're back to extremism. We had.
I started really bad, didn't I?
So we had The Great Human Race here, which was a National Geographic production.
Yeah, The Great Human Race. That's the one.
Yeah, that was in 2015.
Yeah.
And Bill, he was an anthropologist and also into the really discovering what the really basic kind of caveman style foods.
Yeah.
What do they call this? It's a type of diet.
Yeah.
It's escaping me right now.
Let's call it caveman. Whatever.
Are you talking about that king something guy who's eating?
No,
not the Liver King, right?
No,
not the Liver King. Okay.
No, this guy goes to different countries and eat kind of their food that's just a little bit like for example in Mongolia. What did he try?
Yeah, but no, I think you're talking about somebody different.
Okay.
You guys are talking about totally
two different things.
Yeah.
No, this show was focused on kind of the human migration over time and development over time. So they actually filmed 2 episodes here. They filmed an Ice Age episode, which was great because here it was in mid to late November, and we couldn't find snow anywhere. We were chasing snow, and after the whole thing wrapped. We're driving back. We were actually filming along the Seleng River, northwest of Erdenet. And as we're driving back to Erdenet, it was a blizzard. I've got photos of it. It was just a whiteout. And these guys just would not unpack the cameras. They were done shooting. And that's back when I took things a little personally. And I'm like, why won't you guys take out the cameras? Come on, you wanted Ice Age. This is
real life.
We might be stuck here until spring. This is definitely real Ice Age. But they also filmed an episode which had to do with nomadic pastoralism. So that was where we did that out at Hoggenhan, kind of a favorite place to work. And these guys are talents all dressed in animal skins, and they're
really raw. And
and then
trying to show how people lived thousands of years ago.
If people also don't know what The Amazing Race is, this is originated from the States, right?
States, yeah. So longest running reality
35
show.
years of running show.
Yeah.
And then the Israel took the patent, right?
They took a license, and this was I think this was their eighth season. Yeah.
And then Mongolia was the 7th country that they visited. 5th or 7th?
6th or 7th.
7th, I think.
In terms of their fixers, we were the only virgins. We were the only ones who had never done an episode of Amazing Race before, and we were the largest one that they had ever. At least the Israeli group. I can't speak for the Americans, but at least for the Israeli group, it was the largest production that they had ever done.
Well, I worked on the. Probably, I'm not sure. There were a lot of hard jobs on these locations, right? This is a race that you would like go to these stops and then
Yeah,
like,
you have
know,
like a certain goal that you
Yeah.
need to achieve from the moment you
and then like I felt like
land in the airport till you leave.
yeah, and then I felt like I was on the hardest one because we had to block Tessin.
Yeah, that was a really interesting, this Ison monument, and
Yeah.
that was the finish line.
The pit stop.
Yeah, which, you know, in English, normally when we say pit stop, a pit stop is a break kind of
Yeah,
along the way
usually,
while
right?
you're doing something.
Yeah.
Finish
But they
line.
refer to they refer to their finish line as
As a
their pit
pit
stop. Yeah.
Because
Is it a
pit
British
stop-
thing?
It's a pit stop for the next race.
Ah,
To go to
yeah.
the next-
It's not the end. It's not the finish line,
It's not
but
the
in
final.
Mongolia, it's the finish line.
All right,
Problem.
that makes a little bit more sense now. I'll give you that one.
We were like
I
talking
won't
about
give
why
you.
is
I won't give you Derby.
but,
I will not give you Derby.
but
It's
it's
Derby. Derby. That's why American English
yeah.
makes a lot more sense than British English.
I'm not sure.
I'm not,
about
I'm
Can
not
everybody?
Gonna,
wait a
I'm
minute.
not going to comment.
Hold
about
on.
This,
Can everybody understand me?
But I would say taking the U out of color and many other like favorite and all of these things, that makes sense to me as a Brit. Yeah, putting a Z instead of an S, that makes sense to me. But because I'm dyslexic, so it's
Okay, well,
easier
what
to
I can tell you is that bumming a fag in the back of a lorry means something very different in the United States than it does in the UK.
I think
Just
most
saying.
Most people will understand it. No, way too.
Yeah, and then out of the result, right? And then like what I was trying to like say at the end of this this amazing race project. Well, Gregg and his team actually literally promoted Mongolia in a huge market.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, let's just kickstart it immediately on that. What are the biggest issues that you face living in UB?
Oh boy. Well, obviously, language barrier.
Yeah.
That's a big one, and that's on me. That's 100% on me. I've been here for a while. I should be speaking Mongolian and Mini Mongol, mashmo, amrmo. Okay.
Yeah, but you speak better than Nihab, though.
So, well, again, let's make fair comparisons. There are some foreigners here that have really picked up Mongolian and are amazing with it. But it's difficult, right? I'm not a language person. Mm-hmm. You know the joke about what do you call someone who speaks 3 languages?
Yeah, what do you call someone who's
Trilingual. What about somebody who speaks 2 languages?
bilingual?
Yeah. What about 1 language? American. Okay. So, I mean, I've got a bit of Spanish and, few words of other languages. I mean, here during the pandemic, I was stuck in Russia for 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
just about.
yeah.
Because you had
But we were in isolation. Where's the opportunity to learn Russian, right? So people are like, oh, you were there, and they start saying
in
something,
Irkutsk,
and
yeah.
do you speak Russian? I'm like, нет, я не понимаю по-русски. So
Я понимаю.
Спасибо,
yeah,
спасибо,
good for you.
спасибо.
So I would say that it would definitely impact my life very much in a positive way if I would keep devoting a little bit of time to learning more Mongolian, right? But it's very easy to get discouraged. So many people now speak a bit of English, and you go and you try and say something in Mongolian, and then they just look and they just answer in English as if my Mongolian is so crap. What I'm saying is just can't be understood. Or I'm sure you've had the experience. We've had it together actually.
Yeah.
You get into a taxi and they're like, "Where do you want to go?" And let's say I need some building materials. Hermes, Hermes. And they're like, huh? 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 Hermes. Huh? Hermes. How many different ways can I say Hermes, and then
I used to
Kermes.
I used to have a problem with the Dragon Center.
Dragon.
Dragon. I just say it the most Russian way I can think of.
Yeah.
Still didn't catch it?
I still didn't catch it.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've had problems with Ichtagur. I'll get into a taxi and say, "Ich der Guru," and they're like, "Eh? Come on." Like, dude, State Department store. You know, it's it's something that it's very easy to get a bit frustrated. The language, the structure being so different, the 4 levels of sounds. You know, like we've had the conversation of yeah, like, you know, us
and os.
Just us. Yeah, us. Yeah. Let's forget about revenge and just talk about hair and water. And you know, you go into a restaurant, it's very easy to, you know, order some hair. And for me, they're just going to look at me. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, we don't have that on the menu. You know, can't help you. And I've had more than one waiter or waitress kind of. I could see they're laughing on the inside if they weren't, you know, outwardly laughing. So that's one thing for sure. The traffic, but I think that's.
No, the traffic.
You deal with that. You deal with that in any city to an extent, but man, it's just a different level because the people just create it here. Sorry, but you know, you guys create it with the level of impatience, and you know, people go to the same road and do the same thing and cause the same traffic
every day.
I have a Mongolian friend of mine. He used to tell me, you know, Mongolian people used to ride a lot of horses. Yep. So when the car came,
they drive their car like it's a horse.
Like it's a horse.
Yep.
So don't expect any difference.
No. But you know the joke. All right. So yeah, expats generally will. You know, we'll have our times where we blow off a little bit of steam and complain about the things that we don't like, you know, but we're here because we love the country. All right.
That's
we
for
love
sure.
living
That's
here.
for sure.
All right. I complain about a lot of things in the U.S., you know, and I try not to complain too much about stuff here anymore. But yeah, it used to be we would say, you know, why can't people here drive in reverse? It's because horses don't go backwards. Okay. And because they drive their car like it's a horse. But now, man, I'll tell you what, because I own an Aqua now. I have a little
Yeah,
Aqua.
you have this most portable car ever.
I love it. I love it for the city. You know, it's great. And a lot of the guys that I see who are driving Priuses as taxis, whatever, man, they're better in reverse than I am. But then again, I've got the wheel on the wrong side of the car. I'm driving on the correct side of the road with the wheel on the wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Japanese
Everything's.
import, yeah.
So I'm actually, every time I take the car out, I'm really just trying to remember not to die driving or kill anybody else. You know. But no, so the traffic is definitely a bit of a challenge. Winters are actually not bad. I don't mind the cold.
Actually, I enjoy
I
winter.
don't mind the cold.
Really?
The pollution look, everybody is going to say pollution who's spent a winter here.
But it's getting better. It's getting a lot better.
It's better than it used to be.
Yeah,
It's better than it used to be.
when you guys first came, right?
Or you couldn't see.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
yeah.
couldn't see 70, 100 meters.
Yeah, the front
The
car, you couldn't see
smoke
the.
was so bad, in the winter. And no, you don't see that as badly. And let's face it now, air filters have become more of a thing. I've got an air filter in my home for winter, and I'll tell you what, it was a game changer.
What?
Okay, you know how you get to the point where the what does it happen in June or July? All the pollen, the seed pods, the white, the cottony seeds, blowing through the air, and the flies in the summer.
Yes.
Okay, and maybe a few moths. Putting screens on my windows, which I just did this summer. I feel like an idiot. Why didn't I do this 5 years ago, 6 years ago when I moved in? I had custom screens put on the windows. I've had 2, maybe 3 flies in the apartment the entire summer.
Wow.
Game changer. Okay, so not a complaint anymore.
For me, I've got allergies and
Solved.
all of that.
Solved.
All of that
Absolutely
stuff is in
solved. So a
my
lot
room.
of these things are solvable. The only mask I ever want to wear again for the rest of my life is, if I'm here in the winter and going out for the pollution.
No COVID mask, huh?
No
COVID mask.
let's not go there.
Okay.
Yeah. And the traffic, you just do your best to drive it off hours.
Well, I've got a frustration, and it's called Remax. Straight up.
Yeah.
The
If they're a
the
U.S.
rent prices.
company, sorry, I'll apologize as much as I can.
I think they are, actually.
Yeah.
Really?
They've created a real disaster here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the overpriced properties, right?
Yeah. Well,
Even the rents and
Yeah.
like sales.
yeah. The issue is that they've convinced people that what they have is worth such an inflated value, that it's worth so much more than it's actually worth. And people, of course, are not able to pay this. The salaries don't justify this expense, even though we've had a lot of inflation in the last couple of years. Yeah. The salaries, the wages that people are earning don't justify these expenses. And, of course, the real estate agents make money on commission.
Yeah.
The higher the price that they give, wait a little while, you'll get it. And I don't know how long that's going to last. We'll see. It's created a lot of hardship for people.
In another way, because a lot of people may assume that, as an expat, you might be able to afford something more or whatever, but people forget that you're not living with, in your social or your environment. So there's a lot of expenses that goes with living in a foreign country.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also they're getting paid almost the same amount of money which is in this country, right? Like, comparing to comparing to other countries in the world, maybe Japan, Korea, or like even the States in the UK, it's a way lower payment you're getting here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then they think that, like, if say like you're an American, you're from UK, and then they say expect that you're gonna be having incomes like in the States or in the UK.
Well, the assumption
It's
is
not.
because there's two types of expats, I would say. The mining guys who do definitely earn a lot, but they are in a roster, so they're in and out. They really don't stay in the country that much. They fly out after their roster, and very few actually live in the city. The majority live actually in the mining camps and OT or whatever.
Yes.
So they might earn a lot because of their experience and so, but the people who are living here, might be a little bit 20-30% over the average salary, but it's not as much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in terms of general concerns, again, general challenges, certainly when you're looked at as a foreigner, you're a foreigner, you must have money. I don't encounter that all that often, or maybe I do and I don't even know it, But, anytime I'm given a price that I know is ridiculous, I'll just look at the person and be like, look, bijulchim bish. Okay.
Yeah.
And then usually they laugh, and then we work it out.
Well, before in the old days, I used to have issues with taxis.
Yeah.
But now, since I guess UBCAP kind of made life easier, you don't have to really think about it too much, and the fare is there,
Getting to know the buses here, a few of them anyway, where they go, has been amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost been fun. My friends look at me like I'm crazy.
Well, when I was a volunteer,
When
I
you
was taking
take
the
a
bus
bus.
all the
When I
time.
take the bus, but I'll hop on a bus. Oh, okay. I know where that one's going. I had a couple of mistakes at first. It's like, I'm going where? I don't even know where I am right now. This is crazy, and I know the city pretty well.
So, judging from your conversation, I think the bus. Now I realize that the buses doesn't have English signs, does it?
No.
All in Mongolian.
Yeah, but you get to know where the numbers go.
And you know the stops. You get to know some of the stops.
Do you guys use any applications or anything?
What is it? UB Smart Bus app?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That helps?
It helps a
Of
lot.
course.
Okay.
Even tells you when the bus is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
a good thing.
It's getting
Yeah.
better and better.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, having the bus lanes and things move a little bit faster, it's great. I had a guy yesterday. I took a bus yesterday. Guy was kind of following me when I got off the bus, and I'm all right. Look, when I'm living in the city, I'm noticing what's going on around me. I don't have headphones in, listening to music, and looking all around
Lost
like this.
tourist.
I'm in city mode. Doesn't matter what city I'm in. I'm always looking to see, like, is somebody, being suspicious or whatever around me. And this guy was being a little bit suspicious. He just wanted to strike up a conversation because we were packed onto this bus. Kind of like they show the subways in Japan where they have people who actually push you on. Yeah, it felt kind of like that. And he'd like, "What do you think?" And I said, it was fine. It's a little bit of an adventure, So I'm trying to think of what else, what other things have been really challenging being here. Oh, the lack of fresh vegetables in the winter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a vegetarian anymore. I used to be for a little while. It's just, you just can't eat healthy throughout the year.
It's not the cold that's making you having more meat, right? It's the lack of the vegetables that, that disappears.
No,
during
I've been eating some more meat. I mean, obviously, I eat kind of whatever, right? But I definitely miss the lack of fresh vegetables in the winter. Doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
Don't you miss your cauliflower and your broccoli? Your Brussels sprouts? No?
Some of them now.
Mach for me.
Yeah.
For me, I love my mach. So
I don't know. Do you guys have anything else? I mean, do you have anything else that you've noticed as being a real hardship living here? I mean, traffic, language, pollution.
I mean, well, the inflation now is getting a little bit higher, so I can see that. But yeah, what's annoying for me is rent prices. That's really definitely affecting a lot of things. And I guess things are getting easy in terms of technology and stuff. Because of technology, things are getting easier on other stuff. But I can find cheese anywhere, which I'm loving that.
Mm-hmm. Well, finally, there are some nice cheeses actually being made here.
Yeah, Mongolian cheese. Yeah,
that's I always wondered. Up until a couple of years ago, how do you guys have literally the best yogurt on the planet?
And no cheese.
And the cheese is like the worst. Okay? How does this happen, right? But that's changing. That's actually changing for the better. It's awesome.
It's probably it's because of the technology they've been trying to learn over these years, testing.
Thousands of years cheese making. No, didn't.
Actually, there was a couple of people who tried that.
Well, we were doing as a nomad, man.
Okay.
I'm guessing probably because of the weather, maybe. It's not.
Well, maybe,
okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's not going anywhere.
It's not. No, not letting that one slide.
Okay.
But it is changing. But no, it's definitely changing. There are definitely some really nice brands out there now.
Yeah. You mean the local brands?
Local brands, yeah.
Local brands.
Some good cheese.
Really good cheese, cheddar or even mozzarella.
Yeah. But the yogurt, you talk about one of the loves of the country. Okay, so countryside and the yogurt. Eirik, not so much. Although I've had some good Eirik from Bulgan.
Budler,
yeah.
Yes.
Overhanga Eirik is the best.
The home of the Eirik.
Yeah. All right, we're not going to have two foreigners arguing about who has the best Eirik in Mongolia.
Yeah. He's stuck with the Uranga,
It's just because he lived there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of move along the conversation. Me and Baggy were speaking about this before. So because you study space and kind of like space science and so on.
Yeah.
And we spoke about like how Mongolia can be a nice setup for a Mars kind of.
Mm-hmm.
The desert.
Yeah.
Yes. It's an interesting place to do what you would term an analog.
Mm.
So an analog is kind of an approximation of, as close of an approximation as you can get to of what the actual conditions would be like. If we're talking about Mars, then, on that planet, how close can we get on Earth to those conditions? In other words, really cold temperatures, really dry, the soil composition, the resources that would be available, that kind of thing. You want to match kind of as much as possible. So on Earth, probably the best place to use would be, Antarctica, the high deserts of Antarctica. And that's also one of the most inaccessible places on Earth.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not exactly inexpensive to
It's
to run expeditions there.
Is it like can be a simulation center kind of a thing? Is it or like just
Can it be
simulation center?
simulate? Yeah. So an analog can be thought of as a simulation. So yeah, the high desert of Antarctica, man, great, but challenging to get there. So from Mongolia, and this was an idea that came up quite a while ago, and then I saw the Mars V guys actually came up,
You
and
met
they were
them? Yeah, by the
developing.
way.
Yeah, I did meet them, and they seem pretty passionate about doing that here. They actually have quite the following and have a number of different spots picked out. I had kind of a favorite that I noticed more for a reality series that could also be could be doing some scientific research, some real scientific research.
Kind of like a reality show.
Yeah.
/
Almost a Survivor-style
Survivor
reality
style,
show, yeah. Which, I termed Destination Red Planet. So, but seeing what these guys are doing, it's interesting. They're really trying to get going, and now they've been adopted as the local chapter of the Mars Society, and that's an organization that's run out of Colorado in the United States, and they've got chapters all over the world, number of chapters, and they actually have a big meeting coming up next month at the University of Arizona, or is it Arizona State? Might be Arizona State.
One of the two. Yeah.
One of the two. Yeah, exactly. And I think the Mars V guys actually have a delegation going this year. So again,
Do
Nice.
you know anything about the history of kind of the Mongolia and the space race or whatever? Like, did the Soviet Union launch any rockets from Mongolia, or is it just Kazakhstan?
No, they launched from Kazakhstan. To my knowledge, they never launched from Mongolia, but Mongolia did have one astronaut that accompanied the Soviets on one of the launches, and that's Goragcha. Quite famous. But what most people here don't know, and this relates back to a fixing job that we did with the Travel Channel, we did an episode for their first season of Booze Traveler, right? So
Booze Travel?
Booze Travel, like Blues Traveler, but Booze Traveler.
Traveler.
Exactly. So Jack Maxwell was the host, or is the host. I think the show is still running, exploring the world, learning about different cultures through their unique alcoholic beverages. So we actually filmed inside the Apu distillery, and we learned a little something about Bolor vodka.
Oh, the astronaut vodka.
Do you know it as the astronaut vodka?
Yeah,
Crystal vodka.
of course.
The
Every
crystal.
Mongolians know.
No, most people don't.
Most people don't
people
know
think
that.
that's a club vodka. That it
No,
was
like-
it was made for clubs, but it was originally made to honor Goragcha's
Yes,
flight.
in the same year.
Yes.
It
And
should
that
be
was
1983, I think.
Yeah, it was the early 80s. I don't know the exact.
1981.
Okay.
1981, and then it's the 42nd year.
And that used to be Apu's premier
Yes.
vodka.
Yeah.
So really cool little vodka. Mongolia makes great vodka.
Did you get the gift box of?
Of Bolar?
Yeah.
No, actually, they kind of kicked us out. We did get free Borgio, fresh beer.
I will.
Good stuff.
As my friend,
I
I will
sound
give
like
you
an
one.
alcoholic right now.
No.
What, a Bolar gift box?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
then
awesome.
it's not the new one. This is literally
The original
one astronaut one.
Okay. Well,
Oh,
I might have
nice.
something for you when I come back from the States.
And then it comes with the copper cup.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
And then they
Wow.
it's not the original one, of course, but they remade it, but then it's not on the market. It's just for these special occasions. And then I've been working with Apple for a long time, over 10 years now.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then they gifted me this because this is not on the market. You cannot find this. And then it was so precious that I was like, okay, I wanted to give this one to someone who knows the story.
Yeah. Well, it was
It's
fun.
good.
I've got a Goragcha story for you, actually.
Okay.
So back in 2011, I actually had taken the Mongolian parachute team as a manager to Fuyang, China, to compete. in the parachuting championship. Well, before this, for basically Veterans Day, military day.
Oh yeah.
I was invited to participate in a demonstration jump out at Nalach.
Oh.
So the landing zone, I've got a great bit of video on this. They set up a landing zone, in the middle of just hangars, and there were all kinds of obstacles and people and helicopters. So you had to land, pretty accurately. And I always get nervous before jumps like this, but landed basically right in front of a row of generals and Gorakcha. They had invited him to participate out there. So I've got a great photo holding the parachute with the group of us next to Gorakcha. It was very cool. It was very cool.
That's a great story.
Yeah, it was very cool getting to meet him. And one of my oldest friends in Mongolia, who's from Czech, is good friends with him actually. So yeah, he's met him a bunch of times.
Wow.
Anyway, cool stuff.
He had well, Gregg isn't a person that would have a lot of experience in Mongolia. Well, some of the locals, more than some of the locals. I mean, you've had a great 16 years of journey here. And then one thing, another question that I want to know is how far do you see yourself in Mongolia?
Oh, good question. I mean, look, I've been working on building a business here, working on establishing an NGO here, an environmental NGO. Plan to be working here for the next few years, at least. So, yeah, I do have a long-term view of staying in Mongolia.
Well, with Mongolia, like I said, you either love it or hate it. If you love it, you want to stay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was there any, I'm from Irdnet City, I graduated my high school there, and then, as you know, Irdnet City was, full of Russians, right? It's built because of the copper mining corporation, which was half of them were invested by Russians and etc. And then what I remember, my mom worked there for 25 years, and now she's on pension. And then what happened was she had the Russian friends who lived in Mongolia, especially in Irdnet, for over 30 years. And then they said leaving back was really sad for them. It was a disaster. And then they said living here and spending their half of their lifetime in Mongolia made them felt it was their country. And then when they moved back to Moscow, they had nothing to do. So would a similar situation would hit you? What do you think?
Well, I mean, people ask, where I'm from or where do you live? And at this point, I mean, I live in Mongolia. Mongolia is my full-time home. So I don't have a property in the States. So it's, this is home now. Now, will I have another home in the future? Yeah, I hope so. Be interesting. Be interesting to continue the journey, see always other parts of the world. But I think that Mongolia is always going to be part of it moving forward. I think it'll always be one of my homes, if not my main home. I think it'll always.
When people ask me, where you're from, what's your city? It's I'm from London and Ulaanbaatar.
Yeah.
So UB is my city, London is my city. So
yeah,
you kind of feel home. We do need to get the language in check, though.
Yeah, that's no
living
lie.
here over 10 years.
Yeah, I know.
Still don't know.
Not proud of that fact. So, but it is possible to have a lot of fun with people.
Yeah.
Especially you'll see a group of gals, and if you see a group of gals talking or you listen to them talk, right? Usually it'll kind of goes da 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 da. They get a little excited.
The language has a pattern.
The language has a pattern to it. Yeah. And if you just are there and you just go, Timo, and then they go, T, and then, because they think that you understood what they were saying. Right? It doesn't matter what they were talking about. It doesn't matter. But I call it the well-placed Timo.
Yeah.
And the reactions that you get sometimes are priceless.
Yeah, remember it's the same situation that I had in India.
Yeah.
that we spoke about on the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
I learned a bunch of words in Hindi and just said oh really? That's the word that I knew.
Yeah.
And then they started talking in Hindi for the whole time.
Wow.
And the
especially
second word
if
that
you
I
say
knew
it
was
with a good accent.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the second word that I had to know was oh really? Oh, is that so? That's it.
But in Mongolian, the little bit of Mongolian, I'm either told that my pronunciation is really good or really crap. I'm never told, oh, it's okay. They say, oh, God, it's terrible. Or, wow, your pronunciation's really good. So somebody is like, yakshte. I don't know who, somebody.
So what's your favorite word? I know that he has favorite Mongolian word is yakshte, right?
Yeah. I
Oh,
use it all
mine?
the time.
Yeah.
It's not a very nice word. But
Do share with us.
hots.
Oh, that's the
No, and
male
I'll tell
sheep,
you-
right?
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. In English, it's like, shut up, I'm tired of hearing you. You bark like a dog. Go away. In one 4-letter word, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's just brilliant.
in the
That
short-
is linguistic brilliance right there. Love it. I don't use it very often. Obviously, I'm not going to get a good reaction. To it.
Because I've never heard that from you before. I'm being friend with Greg and always mocking him. I should be hearing that.
You haven't been with him in the countryside, so.
Not really. Eh?
But,
We've been to Terrence for a couple of times.
Terrelch is not countryside. Let's
Okay.
just be clear.
Okay, it's not. It's the Nalak district.
Yeah, I wanted to just ask for one last thing, in terms of any of your experience in Mongolia as a fixer, or just being here, jumping off planes and helicopters, diving on the lake or whatever. What is your most if you have a story to tell us, your best experience in Mongolia, anywhere, anyhow.
Okay, I'll tell you one of the craziest experiences, and this was way back. We were jumping at Nalak one day, and it was actually a celebration for remembering the people who. It's a little bit of a sad reason, but it was a celebration of the people who had the helicopter accident back in the 90s, and also the survivors were there. Yeah, and. We were kind of done with the jumping for the day and having a barbecue, and all of a sudden, a couple of the guys are getting really excited. This was my Nima crew, because it was the Nima jumpers that I would jump with all the time. And like, Greg, Nasha. And they're like, what? And they're like, come. They're making me run to this one building. I'm like, guys, what's going on? They're like, Nasha. Inside, up the stairs, and then they're like, climb the ladder. And I'm going, man, what's going on? I end up in the control tower, the old control tower for Nalak Base. And they're like, sit. And they sit me down. I'm at the bank of old Russian radios. And all right, they put the microphone right in front of me. They stick a piece of paper with a bunch of Mongolian scribblings and numbers on it. And I'm like, talk. And I'm going, guys, look, what's going on, right? So like, I remember this. They're telling me, Sumo 88, talk. It was the call sign of some U.S. C-131 or something
Flying
like this. That was carrying, obviously, people, cargo, whatever, to Mongolia, and they didn't know what was going on. They were being contacted. They had no idea. I was the only one who spoke English on the whole base. Okay. So I just, click on the radio. I'm like, Sumo 88, it's Nalak Base. Come in. Nothing, right? Sumo 88, Nalak Base, please acknowledge. I get a response.
Oh.
Nalak Base, Sumo 88. And the guy clearly had a bit of an attitude, realized he wasn't talking to an air traffic control professional. But, I had my 130 hours of flying in a small aircraft. And I'm like, all right, this guy's going to give me attitude. I'm like, all right, Sumo 88 Nalak Base, please state your intentions. And
You're friendly.
and he comes back, and he wasn't going to land there. That was my fear. I'm asking the guys, is he going to land? because this is a helicopter base, there is a runway, but, wasn't going to be too comfortable guiding a plane in, right? Yeah. And they're like, no. So I'm like, state your intentions. And he said, I would want to do two go-arounds, and then depart, probably landing at, the old airport now, Genghis Khan Airport. But the whole time, this guy's giving me an attitude, right? So I go back, American pilot. Similar idea at Nalak Base. You are cleared 2 go-arounds west departure. Acknowledge. It was a rather brief response, and somewhere there is a photo of me then grabbing, I had the handheld radio, and we were standing on the roof of the building with that plane in the background. So, yeah, somewhere that's in my archive of photos somewhere. Just brilliant. One of the craziest experiences that I had. If this had happened, if this had happened at a military base in the U.S., that plane would have been shot down. There's no way. Had the pilot say only spoken Mongolian or something, right? He wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
And here
you in Mongolia, guiding.
Yeah. So there have been a few crazy experiences, but that's one of my favorites that really stands out.
I think because Mongolia is the population is so small, you get to have all of these crazy experiences, meeting. Yeah. I mean, having dinners. You look around, and then this prime minister or some ambassador or somebody very
would be just next to you,
sitting next to you, and just having a conversation. I was like, oh,
Yeah. And if you want to get meetings, if you have a good reason, obviously, but if you have a good reason to have a meeting with some of the, at some of the ministries, it's possible to go right to the top. If there's a good enough reason for it, clearly, but you're not waiting months and months and months to get a 5-minute meeting. It is actually possible to get stuff done.
You are connected with the Mongolian film.
The National Film Council.
National Film Council.
Yeah, we're Mongolia Fixers is listed with the National Film Council as a fixing and logistics services provider in Mongolia.
So basically, you don't need to get a license every time, like a permit every time.
Oh yeah, you do.
Still.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It just makes things easier.
Exactly, but it's only
getting noticed.
It's only supposed to be the companies that are legitimately listed and have that on our business licenses. That's what we do. That get listed with the Film Council. So there was a new film law introduced last year. So there've been a lot of changes.
China to promote Mongolia as a place for filming.
Yeah, exactly. They've introduced some interesting incentive plans and all, but that's all other. That's a whole other beast, whole other discussion.
Yeah. All right, so we are reaching to the end of our podcast right now, and then before that, a quick question, and then we would like to leave the last moment for you. If there's anything that we didn't ask and you wanted to share with us, it will be your moment. And before that, as you being a fixer, so your company is Mongolian Fixers, right?
Mongolia Fixers.
Fixers. So I wanted to know that, is there a chance that a local people can run the same business as you? What could be your advice to them if they wanted to start one?
Okay, well, really with Mongolia Fixers, what I consider, if you ask me kind of, what position I see myself in, right? I kind of act as a bridge between Western expectations and Mongolian realities. So any place in the world where you're going to work, there are the realities of getting things done in those places. And it's going to be different everywhere. Japan, Australia, pick a country, right? So if you have, a Western production crew that expects to get things done in a certain way, somebody needs to act as a liaison for those people to. You're kind of pulling from both sides, right? You're pulling the Westerners kind of over the bridge towards the realities of getting work done in Mongolia, and you need to pull your Mongolian crew a little bit up the bridge to do things a little bit more like the Western production crew would expect, right? And film productions are tricky. There are a lot of nuances. People emotions can run really high. People get a little bit crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You might get like the divas.
Well, not just that, but for the crew, they're looking at, okay, there's one shot to get this. There's all this set up, and for them in that moment, that's the most important thing, and everything needs to go perfect, and they want it to go the way that they expect it.
Yeah, so when
that's why it's been planned for like a 1 and 2 months, right?
Well, for Amazing Race, and that was a really unique type of production. But let's say even you have a crew of 10 or 20 or 30 people out here for 10 days or 2 weeks, right? And you can do multiple takes or whatever else, however their structure is, right? They still expect things to be done a certain way. Look, one of our tricks is feed them really well, because a well-fed crew is a happy crew. And no, you don't want to give them boots and hoshor for a week. I love it. Look, hoshor is one of my favorite foods. It doesn't like me. I like it. It doesn't like me. But you can't. That's not going to work for a Western crew.
I guess
right?
it's because
so that type of thing.
It's a short time, and then at the same time, you don't want people's stomach to,
No, you can't have problems like that.
Everybody needs to, when they say if you're going to India, for example, for a short visit, you should avoid eating fruits or tomatoes, especially vegetables and stuff, uncooked fruit, vegetables.
Because of how they're washed.
Yeah.
Just washed in unclean water, and then they get sick. The last crew that was here, everybody got sick in Turkey because they didn't drink bottled water, or they had vegetables that were, and they said, because I'm going to be going to Turkey. And it's like, wow, I always drink the tap water where I go. I try and get build up and get acclimated and all that, right? So I don't have issues, a lot of issues if I accidentally then have some unfiltered water. Okay, but so it can happen anywhere, right? But doing food control, but that's not even the major thing. The major thing is just expectations of how things are going to go on set, levels of professionalism, levels of keeping to a schedule, okay, and having things ready to go, and not having any kind of a lackadaisical attitude where, oh yeah, okay, well, the person ought to be around. It's making sure that things are ready to go when it's supposed to be ready to go. I mean, come on, we've all dealt with the time issue, where 5 minutes in Mongolia is 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I'm fully Mongolian.
5 minutes in India is 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Well, I'm fully Mongolian.
A New York minute is about 45 seconds.
Oh.
Okay.
Like immediately.
Immediately, yeah. A New York minute means right away.
Like I heard the Germans are also the same, right?
Oh, the Germans? Oh, they keep this schedule. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. German time is like atomic time. It's like atomic time.
Oh.
It goes, as opposed to, say Italy. Yeah. You're lucky if they're not striking.
Latin America and Spain is mañana. So
Mañana, which much like Margash, does not mean tomorrow.
Yeah, it could be.
It means not today.
Oh, not today.
Not today. Come on. So if you say to me, oh, Margash, doesn't mean tomorrow.
Yeah,
it means I'm not today.
Yeah. Or like we say in Mongolia, yeri yeri.
Yeri.
Yeah. Okay. As opposed to yawi yawi?
No. No, like when we bump into each other in the streets, right? And then like we greet, and then before everything gets awkward, right? And like there's not much to talk.
Yeah.
And then say like yeri yeri. And then let's talk on the phone, right? And then which is never.
It sounds like see you when I see you.
Yeah, see you when I see you kind of a thing. And then like sometimes like, when like, I tell that to my like expat friends, they expect a call.
Yeah. Well,
it never happens.
Yeah, well, at first, when I first got here, if somebody said Margash, I'd expect it to happen the next day.
In North Africa and the Middle East, it's like saying Inshallah. When somebody says, "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you do this, for me?" Inshallah, it means forget about it.
Oh, I thought Inshallah was a totally different thing.
It means God willing.
Yeah.
But when people say it, like Inshallah, it means
give it a rest,
Yeah,
kind
give
of.
it a rest. Yeah.
Oh, well,
if God wills it, it will happen. But I'm not going to go out of my way.
so in the States, in the South, sometimes you'll have, especially, proper Southern woman, and she'll be, oh, bless your heart.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean bless
That's the
your
bad
heart.
one, right?
Oh, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means.
We'll keep it clean. I won't say it. I won't ruin it for them by speaking it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse you?
It's worse than that. It's much worse than that, yeah. So
anyway, to wrap this thing up.
Well, to wrap it, okay, so I guess, am I still an extremist?
Yeah, Baggy.
Of course not.
Okay. I've hidden
Always
I've hidden things well.
Yeah, looking at being friend with Gregg for a long time, and then when I try to say something because we have an audience, I intend to keep it to myself, and everything pops into my mind is just just terrible.
Well, the feeling is mutual, my friend. It's mutual.
It's a good thing, Baggy, you did not call him Bruce Willis, not a single time. So
Yeah, I didn't.
No, but you just did.
Oh, I did not mean that.
But then, calling him Bruce Willis, it's too typical right now. He's been called many times, and then it's not something interesting anymore. He's
I've got at least
come on.
I've got at least a dozen people who, if they ever meet him, are going to say, Gregg?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Gregg.
But it's really sad what went on with him now. I can't really milk that anymore. He's not acting anymore. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I actually heard that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Bloody shame. Great actor.
Yeah. Oh.
So we leave we have come to an end now, and then we leave the last moment to you. If there's any quote that you carry in your life that you would intend to follow, that to make your life guide, or whatever you say, the rules that you keep it to yourself. Is there anything you want to share to the audience?
Well, I keep it to myself.
Great
probably
quote.
Probably another quote from Heinlein, which is one of my favorites, and it's when the ship lifts, all bills are paid, no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. So it's been a pleasure having you on our podcast, and especially in early stage, on the third episode. It's been really fun episode. I'm pretty sure the audience is gonna like it because we know each other close.
I think for me, I'm less nervous today because Gregg is here. So
Yeah. So we wish you the best of luck and hope everything goes well.
Well, thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And this is why I only do one show a night, folks.
Well, that's a wrap.
Yeah. So thank you for watching us. This is season 1, episode 3, and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell button. It's not gonna cost you anything, but it helps a lot to us. Goodbye.